Hello everyone, welcome back to Science Free. In today's lesson, we will be learning how to divide decimals. On your screen, we have 4.8 divided into 1.2. The number that is being divided, which is 4.8, is called the dividend. And the number that the dividend is being divided into is called the divisor. Whenever dividing decimals by decimals, always focus on the divisor and the amount of time we have to move the decimal point to the right for the divisor to not contain any decimal. So as you can see, moving the decimal one place to the right would cause the divisor to not contain any decimal. The same amount of time we move the decimal point for the divisor is the same amount of time we have to move it for the dividend. Since we now have 48 divides into 12, we want to find out what that is equal to. If you are not quite sure of the answer, you can multiply a whole number by 12 to see what number times 12 is equal to 48. Multiplying 4 by 12, we get 48. That means 48 divides into 12 goes 4 times. Here we have 0.543 divided into 0.13. For the divisor, how many times do we have to move the point to the right in order to remove the decimal point? We had to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which means for the dividend we have to then move the decimal point 2 places to the right also. Let's now divide 54.3 into 13. Notice, we place the divisor 13 outside the housing and the dividend 54.3 inside. So guys, this is like doing a normal division. We just have to ignore the decimal point. We want to divide 54 into 13. So what's 54 divided into 13? Well, if you are not quite sure of the answer, we can always do some multiplication. What whole number can we multiply by 13 to get 54 or to get a result that is closest to 54? Let's try 4 times 13. Multiplying 4 by 13, we get 52. So 4 is the only whole number we can multiply by 13 to go the closest to 54. If we multiply 5 by 13, we would get a value higher than 54. So 54 divides into 13 gives 4. As you can see, there is a decimal point behind the 4. That point is for the decimals that will come after the 4. In case you're wondering how to always know where to place the point for the decimals, it's when you divide the first digits or digit of the dividend that is before the decimal point into the divisor. So in this example, the first digits before the decimal point are 5 and 4. In other words, we have a whole number of 54. And because we found how many times 54 could be divided into 13, we placed the result and a point after the result to work out the decimals. We want to times the result by 13. 4 times 13 gives 52. Minus 52 from 54, we get 2. We want to bring down to 3. To work out the decimals, we now have 23. 23 divides into 13 goes 1 time. 1 times 13 gives 13. Minus 23 from 13, we get 10. As you can see, 10, which is the new dividend, is smaller than the divisor 13. We want to always make the dividend larger in this case by placing a 0. 100 divides into 13 gives 7. Leaving our answer to the nearest hundredth, we get 4.17. For this example, we have 0.06151 being divided into 0.0035. Just like the previous examples, we want to focus on how many times we have to move the decimal to the right until the decimal point is being removed from the divisor. We had to move the points 4 places to the right in order to remove the points for the divisor. Removing the points, we got a whole number of 35 for the divisor. For the dividend, we have to move the decimal 4 places to the right also. (61) divides into 35 gives 1. 1 times 35 gives 35. Minus 35 from 61, we get 26. We want to make the value of the dividend larger than that of the divisor, so we bring down the 5. (265) divides into 35 gives 7. Because we are finished dividing by the whole number side, which is 615, and the answer is 17, we can now place a point behind 17. 7 times 35 gives 245. 245 from 265 equals 20. We want to make sure in this case that the dividend value is larger than that of the divisor, so we want to ignore the decimal point and bring down the 1. 201 divides into 35 gives 5. 5 times 35 equals 175. 175 from 201 equals 26. To leave the decimal in the hundredths place, we bring a 0 behind 26. We then get 260. 260 divides into 35 gives 7. Let's try this one. How many places do we have to move the decimal to the right for the divisor to get rid of the point? So, we had to move the decimal 4 places to the right in order to get rid of it. That means, for the dividend, we have to also move the decimal point 4 places to the right. We now have 436.4 being divided into 12. What number do we get when we divide 43 into 12? We get 3. 3 times 12 equals 36. Minus 36 from 43, we get 7. We want to bring down the 6 to make the divisor larger than the dividend. (76) divides into 12 gives 6. We now place a point because we are done dividing by the whole number side. 6 times 12 equals 72. 72 from 76 equals 4. Our dividend is 4, but we want our dividend to be larger than the divisor, so we bring down 4. We now have 44 for our dividend. 44 divides into 12 gives 3. 3 times 12 gives 36. 36 from 44 gives 8. We want to place a 0 after 8 to make the dividend larger than the divisor. 80 divides into 12 gives 6. 6 times 12 gives 72. 72 from 80 equals 8. We can place a 0 after 8 to make the dividend larger than the divisor. 80 divides into 12 equals 6. Leaving our answer to the nearest thousandth, we get 36.366 for the answer when we divide 436.4 into 12. So now we are gonna do some examples where we will be dividing decimals. For this example, notice we have the dividend 1.664 being divided into the divisor 32. For the previous examples, we had to move the decimal point for the divisor to clear the decimal, then move the decimal for the dividend based on how many times we moved it for the divisor. But as you can see, this divisor doesn't contain any decimal, so we have to leave both dividend and divisor as they are. We have to divide the whole number before we start dividing the decimals. Dividing 1 into 32 equals 0. We place a decimal point because we are finished dividing the whole number side. We now ignore the decimal point and divide 16 into 32. We get 0 from dividing. We have to now continue to get a number greater than 0, so now again we want to ignore the decimal and divide 166 into 32. We get 5 when we divide. Multiplying 5 by 32, we get 160. Minus 160 from 166 equals 6. We want to make the dividend larger than the divisor, so we bring down the 4. 64 divides into 32 equals 2. Multiplying 2 by 32 we get 64. Minus 64 from 64 gives 0. Let's do another example. So in this example, we have 6.846 divided into 21. We do 6 divided into 21 because the rule is that we should work out the whole number side first and then move on to do the decimal. We get 0 after working out. We have to now place a decimal point because we are finished dividing the whole number section. So that means the next working out will give us the decimals. Ignoring the decimal point, we divide 68 into 21. We get 3 for the first decimal. Multiplying 3 by 21, we get 63. We want to minus 63 from 68. We get 5. We want to make the dividend larger than the divisor, so we bring down the 4. And we now have 54 for the dividend. 54 divides into 21 gives 2. Multiplying 2 by 21 gives 42. We want to now minus 42 from 54. We get 12. Again, we want to make the dividend larger than the divisor, so we just bring down the 6. 126 divides into 21 equals 6. Multiplying 6 by 21 we get 126. 126 minus 126 equals 0. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, then hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our tutorials weekly. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, or you could just email us through our email in the description.